I wasn't invited to my own daughter's wedding in Paris, the one I helped pay for. She emailed me, joking, "If you really want to see it, just watch through Google Earth, lol." I replied, "Have fun with your big day." The next morning, she blew up my phone with calls. But I had better things to do than answer. It was a regular morning. I was sipping my coffee, the kind I brew too strong because it's the only thing that wakes me up. My inbox pinged, and there it was. An email from Emily, my 32-year-old daughter. No subject line, just her name staring at me. I smiled, thinking it was a quick check-in. We'd been talking about her wedding for weeks. Napa Valley, string lights, the whole dreamy deal. I'd already sent $30,000 to cover the venue, the photographer, the florist she'd been obsessed with since her college days. I was thrilled for her, picturing myself there, maybe tearing up as she walked down the aisle. But when I opened that email, my heart dropped like a stone. Mom, it started. Not dear mom, not hey mom, just mom. Cold, like a label on a file. Emily wrote that she and her fiance, Andrew, along with his family, had finalized the guest list. After much thought, they decided I should watch the wedding via live stream. Not in person, not with her, but through a screen, like I was some distant cousin or a nosy neighbor. Andrew's mom apparently wanted to keep things intimate. At the end, she added a line that stung like a slap. "If you want to be a part of it, you can watch through the Google Meet link we've created. Should be just like being there. LOL. I sat there, staring at my laptop, the coffee going cold in my hands. I didn't cry, I didn't shake. It was like the ground shifted beneath me, but I was still standing. Something inside me broke, but it wasn't loud. It was quiet, heavy, final. I typed back 4 words. Sure. Enjoy your big day. No fight, no tears, just nothing. I closed the laptop, finished my cold coffee, and got ready for work like it was any other Tuesday. But it wasn't. That was the day I realized my sacrifices. Every late night, every skip vacation, every penny I poured into my kids meant nothing to Emily. That was the day everything changed. Driving to the office, the Oregon air was crisp, spring still holding on to that morning chill. My mind kept circling one question. How did we get here? I've spent 18 years at Caldwell and Walker Law. It's not glamorous, think endless emails, coffee runs, and calming down frazzled attorneys, but it's been my anchor. When my husband died suddenly, leaving me with 2 teenagers and a pile of bills, that job was my lifeline. I remember nights standing by our old, rattling washing machine, bills spread across the counter, trying to figure out how to afford groceries and Emily's college deposit. I worked extra shifts, canceled plans, drove the same beat-up car for 14 years. I told myself, there'll be time for me later. Spoiler, there never was. Every dollar I saved went to Emily and Luke. When Emily changed majors twice, racking up extra tuition, I paid. When she moved to New York for a job that fizzled out in 6 months, I covered her deposit and plane ticket. When she cried through a breakup at 27, I flew across the country, held her hand, made her tea in a tiny apartment that felt like a stranger's. When Luke wanted to buy a house with his fiance, I co-signed the mortgage and wrote a $10,000 check without blinking. I never kept score. That's what moms do, right? You give and you give and you give. But that email, it made me feel like a vending machine, useful until the snacks run out. Like I had an expiration date and it had passed. At the office, my boss, Robert, noticed something was off. He's one of those rare people who remembers how you take your coffee, black, no sugar, and always asks about your weekend. "You look like you've seen a ghost," he said, setting a latte from the cafe downstairs on my desk. I wanted to spill it all. My daughter just uninvited me from her wedding. But I just smiled and mumbled something about not sleeping well. He didn't push, just gave me that quiet kindness that almost broke me. That latte, that moment, reminded me I was still here, still real, even if my own kid didn't see me. By lunchtime, my phone was buzzing. Emily's name lit up the screen, voicemails, texts. "Mom, please answer. We need to talk. This isn't funny." I didn't listen. I just sat there, sipping my latte, thinking, maybe it's time to stop being the one who always answers. Maybe it's time to stop playing a supporting role in a story where I'm not even allowed on stage. That afternoon, I made a choice. Not to scream, not to beg, but to act. After work, I didn't go home. I drove to First Federal Bank, a few blocks from the office. Carlos, the branch manager, greeted me like always with a warm Mrs. Collins and a handshake. He's helped me with everything over the years, college funds, retirement plans, you name it. I sat across from him, my purse on the floor, and said, "I need to cancel a wire transfer." He blinked. "The one to the Napa venue?" "Yes," I said, my voice so calm it surprised me. "The circumstances have changed." He checked his screen, hesitated. "There might be a fee, depending on timing. May I ask why?" I didn't elaborate. "Just cancel it." He nodded. "You're in luck. It hasn't processed yet." "But $50,000 is a big amount, Mrs. Collins. You sure?" I nodded. "I'm sure." $50,000? That was on top of the $30,000 I'd already sent. 80 grand total for a wedding I wasn't allowed to attend. I signed the forms and walked out. No second thoughts. By the time I got home, my phone was blowing up. 9 missed calls from Emily, 2 from Luke, 1 voicemail from Emily. "Mom, please don't do this." I turned off my phone, poured a glass of red wine I'd been saving for a special occasion, Thanksgiving, when Emily was supposed to visit but failed for work. I took the glass to my porch, sat in the fading sunlight, and let the world go still. Birds chirped, a neighbor's dog barked, and then the memories hit like waves. All the birthdays I planned alone, the holiday dinners where I set an extra plate, hoping for a call that never came, the new shoes I didn't buy, the vacations I never took, the car I drove until it coughed its last breath. I thought about Andrew's mom, a woman who barely knew Emily but whose opinion mattered more than mine. I thought about that LOL, like watching your own daughter's wedding on a screen was a punchline. And for the first time, I thought about me, not as a mom, not as a widow, but as Margaret. What did I want? Peace, dignity, a life that didn't revolve around being someone's ATM. Around 9 p.m., the doorbell rang. I almost ignored it, but curiosity won. It was Luke, still in his office clothes, tie loose, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Mom," he said, stepping inside before I could speak. "Why aren't you answering your phone?" "Emily's freaking out." I shut the door. "Hello to you too." He paced, frustrated. "She says says you're not coming to the wedding now. That you're being difficult. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Difficult? For not attending a wedding I was uninvited from? He shifted, uncomfortable. Andrew's parents are paying most of the bill, Mom. You know how traditional they are. I raised an eyebrow. Traditional. I paid $30,000. I was about to send $50,000 more. That's not tradition. That's a transaction. He froze. Wait, you were sending another 50? Was, I said, sipping my wine. Not anymore. His face went pale. Mom, they're counting on that. The venue, the food, not my problem. I cut in. His voice rose. Of course it's your problem. She's your daughter. And I'm her mother, I said, soft but firm. A mother who was told to stay home and watch from a screen. He ran his hands through his hair, agitated. You always make everything about yourself. That was it. That was the moment something snapped. Get out of my house. He blinked, stunned. What? You heard me, Luke. Get out. I wasn't yelling, but my voice carried a weight I hadn't felt in years. I've given everything, and I'm done being the villain in a story I wrote with love. He stood there, then turned and left. The door clicked shut, louder than any slam. I stood in my living room, heart pounding, and realized I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. The next morning, my phone was a war zone. 43 missed calls, texts from Emily ranging from guilt trips to panic. Mom, we need to talk. Why are you doing this? This is childish. Then the venue called. The payment didn't go through. We're going to lose everything. At 3:24 a.m., she wrote, I don't understand why you're doing this to me. I smiled into my coffee. Of course, she didn't understand. My sacrifices were the air she breathed. Always there, never questioned. But not this time. At work, another email came. Subject, please don't ruin my wedding. Emily wrote that they'd lost a venue deposit. The caterer was about to walk, and Andrew's parents were furious, saying this proved they were right about me. Then the kicker, we can talk about you attending the ceremony, but we need the funds first. There it was, a negotiation. My presence at my daughter's wedding dangled like a carrot if I just pay up. I closed the email, turned back to my work, no response. I was done bargaining for my worth. At noon, Robert stopped by. Lunch? That new Italian place opened? I almost said no, like always, but something in me shifted. I'd like that, I said. Over pasta, he talked about his grandkids, how they exhaust him but light up his world. Then he paused, eyes soft. Forgive me, Margaret, but you seem lighter today. I surprised myself. I told him everything. The email, the wedding, the money, what I did. He didn't judge or try to fix it. He just said, sometimes the hardest part of love is setting boundaries, especially with the people we've given the most to. He squeezed my hand, and for the first time in forever, I believed I'd done the right thing. That evening, someone was on my porch steps. Sophia, Emily's best friend since 5th grade. Sleepovers, cookie baking, giggling until dawn. Sophia. Mrs. Collins, she said softly. I'm sorry to drop by. I invited her in, made tea. Emily sent you? I asked. She hesitated. She's a mess. They lost the venue. The florist. Andrew's parents might cancel the wedding. I placed 2 mugs on the counter, waiting. She knows she messed up, Sophia said. She just doesn't know how to fix it. Is there anything she can do? I thought about it. Could an apology erase the sting of being excluded? The feeling of being used? I handed Sophia her tea. Words are easy when people are desperate, I said. The people who love you don't wait until you cut them off to see you. She nodded, eyes sad. I get it. Even if she doesn't, she hugged me and left. The wedding didn't happen, not the Napa Valley dream anyway. They scrambled, ended up with a small backyard ceremony weeks later. I wasn't invited, and I didn't care. Emily sent one more email, half apology, half excuse. I read it, archived it, moved on. I wasn't angry anymore, just done. There's a strange peace in letting go, not with rage, but with clarity. For the first time in decades, I wake up without wondering who needs what from me. I go to work, I read novels, I signed up for a pottery class, shaping clay into something new. I have dinner with friends who see me, not what I can give. And I've learned something I wish I'd known sooner. You don't have to burn yourself out to keep others warm. My presence isn't negotiable anymore, and neither is my peace. If this story hit you, share it, drop a comment, let me know what you think. And maybe, just maybe, give yourself permission to put you first for once. Thanks for listening.